Vivekananda himself saw this danger, where he criticized Indians late 19th century for being constantly looking to the West for approval, for validation. Rabindranath Tagore talked about it, the dangers of imitation. Most strikingly, Professor K.C. Bhattacharya, in his remarkable, it was a lecture, became an article later, Swaraj in Ideas. Remember, at that time, Swaraj was the struggle for Indian independence. This was before 1947, in the 1930s. So Professor K.C. Bhattacharya says that it may be that very soon that the British colonial power will leave these shores. This was before independence. But remember, it will leave a shadow in our mind, the whole idea of the shadow self. The colonizing power will stay on in our minds. And the example he gives is stunning, especially for its relevance to today. He says, what is the sign of a colonized mind? It is immediately evident in the lack of creativity. And then he gives an example. Shakespeare. How an Oxford literature don writes about Shakespeare. It will be very different when you cross the English Channel and go to a French professor in Paris and how he writes an appreciation of Shakespeare. Then imagine how different it should be across the 7 seas when you come to India, at that time Calcutta University, and you ask a professor of literature in Calcutta University to write an appreciation of Shakespeare, how different it would be. But look at what they write. They all look like second-rate copies of that Oxford Don. See, we are not coming from our root. You're not standing on your own feet. You're not coming from anything original. The idea of education was the best possible imitation of our British masters, the best possible imitation of our British colonizers. Sri Aurobindo, before he became well known, before his political career and long before his spiritual, as teacher, becoming a spiritual teacher, he was a professor, a lecturer at the Baroda College. After coming back from England, his parents made sure he never learned anything Indian. He had an English governess, was not allowed to learn Bengali, sent off to England as the first opportunity. He grew up there, highly educated in the Oxford, Cambridge culture. When he comes back, he's given a job, English literature, Baroda College, I think. And he writes very touchingly that why are we teaching this? The stuff that I studied in Cambridge, it has no relevance to these young men, and they're all young men at that time. Girls did not get a college education. It has no relevance to their culture. These boys from Rajputana coming from small towns, what do they have to do with English literature and poetry? They're not learning anything about their own culture. They're not learning anything in their mother tongues. They're forced to memorize an alien culture and in an alien tongue. To what purpose? So that is continuing even now. I'll give you little examples, which it is so striking. Anybody, we all see this all the time. It's all around us. All the developments which I see here, either in East Coast in New York or on the West Coast in California, within a month or two, it's reflected back in India. Now, some of them they are all very good movements, whether it's the LGBTQ plus movement or the Me Too movement or whatever it is. Not in my name, hashtag this, hashtag that. All very good. But my point is only one and only one. Why is it that it starts here and goes there? Let me see the work the other way around. Let me see a few ideas start there and come here. Someone was talking about Halloween becoming very popular in India now in the big cities. Halloween is very popular here. Again, nothing wrong. Don't mistake my critique. My critique is this: that so Halloween, why is it becoming popular in India? Somebody said, oh, there's a commercial interest behind it, and no, that's not a valid idea. The shopkeepers in New York are also as commercial as the shopkeepers in Mumbai, or if not better. So they are not commercializing Holi or Diwali. Holi and Diwali are not becoming popular festivals in the United States. Although it can, if they became, it would be a huge commercial bonanza for people. It's not happening. It's always a one-way street. And I'm not saying there's any kind of plot to it or any kind of, nothing. It's just a power gradient. If you are downhill from the dominant cultural power in your age, whether it's England 50 years ago or it's America today, you have to consciously, we have to consciously, deliberately make an effort to stand on our feet and then absorb whatever is good and whatever is coming from the West or from other parts of the world, then you truly have a synthetic culture which is strong. Otherwise, you keep getting swept away, and one might say, what's wrong with that ultimately? What's wrong with it is you are interested in economic development. We want India to be one of the leading economic powers of the world. We know very well this is an idea-driven economy in the world today, and ideas require creativity. You see, the loop is closed here. There's a direct link between being rooted in your own traditions, immersed in your own traditions, and able to respond creatively to the world and to the situation, from there to economic development. There's a direct link between them. Let me give a couple of examples and stop. Most of my examples are from philosophy because I'm interested in that. When I was a student, we had a subject called logic in +2 in class 11. And we used to take that because it used to get the good marks. So we took that. And I studied, and it was all Aristotelian logic, ancient Greek logic. It's only after becoming a monk and learning about Indian philosophy, I became aware that we have one of the most sophisticated systems of logic ever developed in the ancient world, the Nyaya system, and then the Navya Nyaya system. Very sophisticated, far more sophisticated than Greek logic, ancient Greek logic. Why didn't even we hear about it? Why isn't it in this? I'm sure all these things are different now, maybe, but it was not at that time. Nobody even thought about it. And there was no, it's not that it was a plot. It is just that the syllabus which had been designed by our British colonizers, that was modified a little bit every 10 years or so, and all the universities sort of kept on doing that. There was no attempt to rethink, and that is because we are not grounded in our own thought systems. Why ancient Greek logic? If you had taught us latest mathematical logic, I would have said there's something to it. But if you're going to teach ancient logic, why not ancient Indian logic? Far superior. The second example I will give and stop here is Israel. I was told by this mathematician, he is in Oxford University. His name will come to me. He is the successor to Richard Dawkins in that post for popularization of science. I'll tell you the name. So anyway, his wife is Israeli. So he had invited me for a lunch one day, and over that lunch, he told me that, when Israel was founded, the founding fathers in Israel, they said that we must have Hebrew as our language, national language. And that was a dead language, he said, Swamiji. Nobody used it really. And they insisted we will have that. And they revived that language. And this mathematician was telling me, there's no question of doing higher academics, like pure mathematics and all in Hebrew. This is a ridiculous idea. They forced it. They invented, sat down, made committees, invented terms, but they made it certain that everybody from kindergarten to PhD level was using Hebrew. Now look, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years down the line, Israel became independent in 1948. It is an intellectual, technological, economic powerhouse. Tel Aviv University, Jerusalem University are among the best in the world. They're Nobel Prize winners from there. Did their lack of English, does it hinder them? Not much, not much. And until I'd heard this, I wouldn't have believed it, because I had the same point of view as I think most of us had. When growing up and college and university level, if somebody had told me you have to do economics or business management in Hindi or in Sanskrit or in Odia or Bengali, I would have laughed. How is it possible? All of the good books are in English. I'm not saying that you have to do exactly what the Israelis did. Maybe it's not at all possible in a country like ours. So it's enormously larger and more complicated and diverse than Israel. But the point is to be taken. All right. So these are the points I wanted to present before you. Globalizing Vedanta. Thank you so much.